Hi guys, so Sarah Pochin of Reform UK clashes with the panel on Politics Live in relation to the Epping protests. So of course, as we know, there was an Ethiopian migrant that was SAing a little girl, and then that's what caused eruption in a local area protest. Then of course you got some people that attached themselves to it and took it too far and started, going at police, which of course we do not condone. But looking at statistical data is very important when dealing with these problems, because you need to see what nationalities coming in are offending the most. And Sarah Pochin is basically going to say that there's a problem with, Afghans and Eritreans, and then the list goes down and down and down. And then, the panel just going to say, yep, that's just racist, talking points from, of course, Reform UK again. And I actually done my own research, and she's correct. The top two are Afghans and Eritreans, and then the list goes down and down. So when you want to, tackle any problem, you need to know who's committing these offences and at what rates. So if she's just bringing up a statistical point that is factually correct, then why is she being demonized on this? From what I see, the panel are just woke and they are scared to talk about nationalities when it relates to this. We saw the same with Pakistani grooming gangs. Like, it's Pakistani. Oh, no, don't say that, Rupert Lowe. Oh, gosh, no. But the statistics show that it's Pakistani predominant. Oh, no, we can't say that it's racist. And it's... just deal with, the stats as they are. So yeah, but anyway, guys, let's get straight into.
Sarah, on that issue, let's look at this BBC News headline. Asylum hotel protest escalated into mindless thuggery, police say. Now, this is what's been happening after tense scenes in Epping. Outside an asylum hotel, an Ethiopian asylum seeker has been charged with sexual assault and people have been protesting there. What do you say to the accusation?
Look, what I'd say generally to everybody is that I think this country is at potentially a boiling point with things like this. Do I understand how that sort of thing happens? Yes. Look at Northern Ireland only last week. Again, where you're going to get... It's a fact, by the way, that this particular element, particularly Afghan, particularly Eritrean asylum seekers, have a particular problem with sexual assaults and sexual violence against women.
Okay, well,
it is a fact.
I've got the figures. Hold on a second, please.
It's an absolute fact. It's a fact.
Hold on.
It's reported that as a potential...
We all know your party is for
as a percentage of the population, they are far higher and to offend. No, you can turn your nose up.
Absolute
it's
nonsense.
Like
right, so the context, Sarah.
They're putting women like me.
Sarah,
So
just hold on 1 second.
That they should. You say you understand why they're there. Would you say to them they should go home?
The rioters.
Do you think they should stay outside?
Are you talking about the rioters?
Well, I'm talking about the people who are protesting outside the asylum.
The protesters I meant to say, not the rioters. I'm saying that I completely understand why people
I'm asking
feel...
whether you think they should go home.
That if they're peacefully protesting, no, that's what this country's about. Anybody can peacefully protest. Okay?
It's obviously not turned into peaceful protest. So should they go home? Do you encourage them to go home?
If there's a peaceful... Can I just say what I want to say? If there's a peaceful protest, yes, that's what this country's all about. We let the pro-Palestinian protests continue, etc., etc. When those protests, in my view, potentially on purpose get infiltrated with people that want to cause civil unrest, that is a totally different thing. Antifa were there.
James Regan, your councillor. Do you think your councillor James Regan incited some of that violence?
Do you know about Antifa? No, they were there. Antifa were there.
They're not the reason why there was violence, right? And you've said yourself you understood why the violence happened.
There are bodies of people that will come in on purpose to incite
in the ones
violence.
And was your councillor one of those?
Right, we need to have one at a time, please.
I think it's disappointingly evasive of the question I asked.
No, if they're peacefully protesting, fine.
But it's obvious that this turned into something that's more than a peaceful
Then the police need to get involved.
Right, and you think...
Well,
but you think that people should go home, considering their protest has turned into something
if it
which you say it wasn't intended.
If it becomes
it has become violent.
Then of course it needs to be dispersed.
Right, okay, I think she has said that. Can I just give some context, please, around what you're talking about, the Afghan and Eritrean sexual offence convictions? So there were 129. They committed 129 offences over 3 years. And that is out of a total number of convictions where the nationality is known of 16,771. So that is the context around the numbers. I just think, we want to deal in facts. Chris.
So the police have been clear. To quote the police, this is mindless thuggery. And the idea that Sarah would say, I understand why people are doing that, rather than standing with the police...
You're government.
But there is no excuse for thuggery.
Sarah, please don't interrupt.
There's no excuse for violence and thuggery. Now, what we have to do, and it's also appalling to be raising the tensions on these issues rather than trying to deal with the actual issues, which is why I still cannot understand.
Then deal with it.
Why did you vote against our measures on tackling violence against women and girls? Why did you vote against that? We are moving as fast as possible after the legacy we were left to close these asylum hotels, which is another disaster zone, by the way, but which opposed at every turn by the Conservatives and Reform, and who would instead rather exploit this for headlines. Actually, you need to be dealing with the issues in communities and supporting the police rather than saying you agree with the people being thugs.
Guys, to close off the segment real quick, number one, I do not condone violence against police, of course not. But why are we not talking about, the asylum seeker in that hotel? It's a problem. We have to look at the root causes. The problem can't just, get big and then they say, oh man, these far-right thugs, these thuggery, this violence against police, oh my days, what's going on? We understand that. But what about the asylum seekers in the hotel? Why are they just, being accommodated to 4-star hotels, being given pocket money? Like, people want answers. People cannot carry on living like this, People don't know, in a hotel, people don't know who's there. I even have a hotel not too far from me, and I've heard asylum seekers are being housed there. Honestly, that's the God's honest truth. Someone told me this. Someone working at the hotel told me this. Not too far from me. And apparently asylum seekers are being housed there. And I'm just like, this is just crazy. Like, people are not going to allow this to carry on, for much longer. And when people do fight back, you can't start demonizing people and saying, hey, these are all thugs, these are just gangsters, these are just racists, these are just, lunatics. You can't say that when you didn't tackle, the problem, the root cause of the problem, which was just asylum seekers coming in and just doing as they please and doing whatever they want, Even yesterday, asylum seekers were shoplifting in central London, wasn't it? People aren't just going to keep on allowing this to happen. They're thinking to themselves, hang on, I'm paying taxes, I'm going to work, I'm doing what I'm meant to do as a law-abiding citizen, and they're coming over, they're getting 4-star hotels, they're getting pocket money, government are subsidizing them, they're going out stealing, they're not going to jail, nothing's happening, you don't even know who they are, they have no documentation, they're throwing their passports, in the sea, so you don't know who they are. And then that silly Labour woman a few days ago, the Welsh Labour woman, was like, oh, we need IDs for them. What's IDs gonna do when they have no passport? You don't even know who they are. They can say their name's Jack. How are you gonna know that his name's not Jack? So that's it. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Rant's over, man. I'm just sick and tired of, this Labour government not addressing the root cause, which is the asylum seeker hotels. Address that, and then we can talk about, the violence against police after, but address what's going on. Like, don't just sidetrack and say, okay, we're going to allow asylum seekers to carry on doing as they please, but no one should be out here causing any problem and commotion. So you can't just say that. I'm sorry, you just can't.